Welcome to this channel. Games. Games rest between two sides, attrition and luck. Attrition relates to rigid structures and luck relates to chaos. In the middle you have the element of perception-enabled choice, involving IQ for instance. The constant is a perceptual belief that the game simulation will lead to absolute conditions of winning and losing, depending on the choices in maneuvering that one makes. One main example is chess. Bobby Fischer, a chess champion, says chess is highly reliant on memory. Within the middle and rigid structures, you have honors. Honors focus on practice of games and muscle memory to win the game. Within the middle and chaos, you have innovators. Innovators rely on knowledge to develop the relevant strategy or answer to win out the game. Innovators are more inclined to not staying on a single pathway to victory. Some innovators rely on the ability to repeat the winning process like a chimera. The drive for honors is practice. The drive for innovators is improvisation. Most players stand somewhere in the middle in terms of perceptual belief. They prefer a mix of innovation, improvisation, and practice, depending on what they are already good at. For instance, some have more people intelligence and prefer innovating in relationship choices than having innovations in object relationships. With the extreme of innovation, you have God games. These are simulation games that allow you to do almost anything you want. Winning is not the main focus. To the extreme of rigid structures, you have Quicktime event-based finisher moves in boss fights. These are shortened to QT. As per a readout from Wikipedia, a Quicktime event is a method of context-sensitive gameplay in which the player performs actions on the control device shortly after the appearance of an on-screen instruction/prompt. It allows for limited control of the game character during cutscenes or during cinematic sequences in the game. One game that employs this mechanism is God of War's Ghost of Sparta. By dividing into segments, that is, by zoning the game, meaning environments for each particular player mindset, a graduated mixture of attention-intensive and low attention requiring gaming scenarios can be created. So one such example of zoning applied is Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight combines racing, drifting with stealth gameplay, combat, and mini puzzle solving. Given the stealth attribute, different visualization and zooming modes exist, including for scanning CCTV footage and finding evidence. Zoning is regulated by choice, so it stands on the side of the middle. In other words, it involves complexities like keyboard mapping, amount of possible interactions, variations of interactions in the same way, and more useful info than flavor text. The learning curve is higher, simply. This learning curve also scales through navigation. Batman Arkham Knight has a radar and a sliding compass for navigation. A radar with a non-sliding compass divides your attention between two parts of the screen, and is a more punishing feature than a minimap displaying any resources or events. Available full maps accessible from any button, keyboard button or main menus play the same role as minimaps. They display resources and events. Batman Arkham Knight has actual stealth gameplay in terms of enemy takedowns without the go. This is a helpful means of strategy similar to the mobile game Splinter Cells, providing an element of predictability. In contrast, Genshin Impact's instant spawns in domains do not have you keeping all enemies in your spatial memory. Also, they prepare you from the start many times to expect enemies to spawn. The downside of strategy is that you cannot implement tactics unless you have characters to switch out, skill sets to change, or weapons to switch around with. As long as you have a progression bar, it provides logical sense. In Genshin Impact open world mode, you can do some strategic enemy defeating. The Theater Mechanicus event in Genshin Impact provides 3D tower defense, with you as a character having to go from tower to tower to change or upgrade your towers. You have a limited pick of the tower skill trees before starting. You can also trigger elemental reactions with your active character without damage instances. You can devise a strategy before you start by reviewing the Theater Mechanicus map. In the case of strategy, those games are great, where each entity matters. So where each entity matters, but for example in Age of Empires 2, for instance, soldiers are disposable, not necessarily long-lasting. The one way to make Age of Empires 2's expansion nature better is by favoring keyboard mapping over point and clicks to give formation commands or build commands or spawn human resource like military, trade units, or villagers. In Age of Empires 3, the element of choice is increased by provision of governor choice, a trading card system to choose starting conditions, and available upgrades from the skill tree of each civilization. In addition to this, the uniqueness of each hero is emphasized by providing them with actionable skills, rather than only formation, attacking, and protecting. Actionable skills in Age of Empires 3 brings us to turn-based strategy games. So one major attrition time strategy is Pokemon. So one major attrition turn-based strategy game is Pokemon. Once you have sufficiently leveled up one character and made up for your weaknesses, you can one-shot most Pokemon. It doesn't matter then if you introduce turn-based games like Divinity Original Sins 2, it's seen purely in terms of minimizing attrition. Fire Emblem Heroes would be a prime example of attrition here. What matters is how good the zoning is, whether the number of moves are based on character, and how chess-like the game is. Contract Servants, a crypto game, does a good job at zoning, unlike Fire Emblem Heroes. However, it is not interactive. The end goal is based on some luck here. And that's where open world trading card games are not out of question, given the foundation of Age of Empires 3 that Age of Empires 3 provides. Open world Yu-Gi-Oh! Seems like the match. In terms of context programming through analytics, that is the limit of gaming and the introduction of technological principles, we have another perspective. And that perspective is a realist perspective that games may not be for everyone. Complex conversations, games whereby you are a lawyer and real life inventions get into the conversation here. There is limited honing and innovating space to an extent. So what makes games unique is a gamified experience of the metaphor in the game. By metaphor, I mean the phenomenon known as emotion in response to events and wonderful music or images in game. At a basic level, you can go for choose your own adventure readouts or visual novels, though the length of text is the main issue here. So choose your own adventure readouts. These tend along the lines of the middle to the right, the innovators. So it's somewhere there in the middle, and that's another talk for the length of text, where we have to choose between dub and sub, where the issue is synthetic voices versus real voices in action adventure, and walls of text or such logs in any other kind of story capture. So any kind of perspective we can get about the game which we are playing in order to be better invested in it. So that's it.